Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
Hey fans, I'm Nick Fay. With me as always, Parth.
What's going on, Nick? How's it going?
What's up, Parth? Exciting show today. We're going to talk our top 5 players in the league, FanDuel games of the week. But before we talk about that, I got a question for you. You think the Warriors are going to lose or the Sixers are going to win first?
That's tough because the Warriors have been dominant and the Sixers have TJ McConnell as their starting point guard. So I don't know. Do you have
I can give you the next 5 games.
Schedule for them?
Yep. All right. So
let's hear it.
The Sixers are at Minnesota, at Boston, at Houston, at Memphis, and then they face the Lakers. The Warriors are at home against the Lakers, at Phoenix, at home against the Kings, at Utah, and at Charlotte.
So I think
it's a pretty easy stretch, I would say, for the Warriors.
I don't know. I think the Sixers will win before the Warriors will lose. I think the Sixers could get one of those. The Warriors' schedule doesn't look too difficult, but I mean, when you're the defending champs and on such a streak that you're on, you're going to get everyone's best shot for sure. And so one of those teams could pull the upset. Like that, how incredible would this be if the Warriors aren't able to set like the stat of best start in the league or whatever because of Kobe Bryant? The Mamba comes back. Vintage Mamba fashion and just shoots the lights out of the gym and goes for 50 plus. Imagine that.
That would be pretty sick.
That would be better than the Warriors being the best starting team in history. That would be so much better in my opinion. Kobe coming back and defeating this team.
It would definitely be a surprise. What team do you think the Sixers could be out of those 5?
Repeat those for me again.
Yeah, Minnesota, Boston, Houston, Memphis, and the Lakers.
Well, Minnesota is a young team as well. I mean, they're clearly more talented than the Sixers, but they're young. And so with young teams, you never know what to expect. They could play as well as the Warriors one night, and they could play down to the Sixers level one night. So that's a matchup that's a possible upset for Philly to pull. And I'll mention this in the games of the week as well, but Philadelphia playing Memphis is also a sneaky matchup just because Memphis doesn't run away from a lot of teams. They grind it out, obviously. And so if Philly can hang in there towards the end, maybe they can steal a game here. They still aren't very good at finishing out games. They had a chance against Miami, and they let that go a couple days ago. So I think if they can stay in the game, at least give themselves a chance, that Memphis upset is another possibility as well.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that because Memphis really hasn't been playing up to par as well. And I can see the point with Minnesota because they're a young team. They could always let up. And then I feel like if they don't beat those two, they have a great shot against the Lakers too because they'll be at home. But
Philly's at home against LA?
Yeah, that's the 5th game.
Okay. That's the game I'll is that next week or this upcoming week?
I want to say that's probably next week.
Okay, yeah, that'll definitely be on my games of the week as well. So Philly 2 weeks in a row. Who would have thought that? And that's just because Kobe's going back to Philly where he went to high school, and that could be his last game in Wells Fargo. So
and the Sixers
that'll be a nice crowd. Hopefully Philly can pack the arena and appreciate Kobe a little bit.
But let's talk about our top 5 players in the NBA. You want to start us off?
Yeah, so I know you're going to do this slightly differently, just looking at an overall bird's eye view of the league kind of. But I'm going to qualify this as just the best players up to this point of the season just for this year. So at 5, I have LeBron. He's been sneaky good, actually. I think 5 might be underrating him. I was just looking at his stats on Basketball Reference, and he was like 27, 7, and 6. So, I mean, he's having a good season. It's just kind of under the radar because you kind of expect those kind of numbers from LeBron. So, I mean, he's having a great season. He's definitely in my top 5 for this year alone. At number 4, though, we'll go with Paul George. I think he's been the best small forward in the league this year. I know he plays a little bit of power forward. Indiana tries to play him at both spots depending on the matchups of the other teams. But he's been incredible. And Indiana's right now 3rd in the Eastern Conference. And who would have thought that? So Paul George has definitely been carrying this team. He's a double-double monster with boards, and he can also dish the rock.
Yeah, he's been
At
racking up
number
assists.
3, what's up?
I said he's been racking up some assists.
Yeah, he's been asked to do a lot, and I think he's been a lot better with the ball this year. I know a couple seasons ago he was struggling, or he wasn't the first option as the primary ball handler on pick and rolls, but he's doing a much better job this year. So at 3, I'm going to go with Blake Griffin. I actually had Blake at 2, but he had a really crappy game yesterday. And I think he was like single digits in points and just didn't have a good day. And the Clippers have also been faltering as of late. I really thought they were going to beat Golden State last week when they played them. Chris Paul looked incredible. Chris Paul outplayed Steph Curry for most of that game. Steph Curry kind of turned it on at the end and got some free throws and padded his stat line a little bit. But Chris Paul was incredible that game. Just ran out of steam at the end. The entire Clippers ran out of steam. And so because they are going downhill a little bit, I'm going to put Blake at 3. But regardless, he's been really, really good this year. MVP candidate for sure. Number 2, I have Russell Westbrook. This guy can do everything. He is a joy to watch, whether he's doing something positive or negative. You never know. He could jack up a 30-footer at any time. But watching him is always exciting. And he's just an explosive athlete who I personally enjoy watching. He's my favorite player in the league to watch. So we'll have Westbrook at 2, and then of course number 1. I think it's a consensus at this point, considering this season. It's Steph Curry. He's been incredible. Maybe a little turnover heavy, but it doesn't matter. He's shooting lights out. He's hitting ridiculous shots with hands in his face. The release is so quick. He's incredible. He's tough to guard, and the Warriors team is built around him. So you can move him off the ball, have Iguodala bring the ball up, have Livingston bring the ball up, and use Curry as a 2 guard. So he's versatile in terms of just being a catch and shoot kind of guy or off the dribble shooter kind of guy. So he's been incredible this season, and he's my clear-cut number 1 so far.
Yeah, he's been huge impact on the game. He gets so much attention from the defense. But like you said, my top 5 is going to be a little different. It has a little boost from this season, but it's mostly just overall. So I'm going to start at the bottom. At number 5, I'm going to go Anthony Davis. Number 4, Russell Westbrook. Number 3, Steph Curry. Number 2, Kevin Durant. And number 1, LeBron James.
Right. I agree with you if I was doing a overall sort of thing. I think LeBron and KD are still the 2 best players in the league. No doubt Steph Curry's been really good, but I think as much as he helps the Warriors be the Warriors, the actual surrounding pieces help Steph Curry be Steph Curry.
I understand what you're saying, that the system helps him. But I feel like regardless, if he was on another team, you definitely would need to supply him with other shooters so they wouldn't give him full attention. But he just attracts so much attention just on the pick and roll. His ball handling is pretty crazy. And he's been finishing more in the paint this year when teams are doubling him at the 3-point line.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun to see how Golden State manages their finances when they have to pay Barnes and probably pay Azili. I don't know how much longer Bogut and Iguodala will stick around. They're getting up there in age. But I think especially Iguodala is critical to their success just because he allows Steph Curry to play off the ball. And it's someone who can make plays and be a primary ball handler. So it allows the Warriors to be a really versatile team.
And he's worked on his 3-point shot. It looks a lot better this year. And you mentioned Barnes, too. He hits a lot of big shots in the fourth quarter. Kind of goes under the radar.
Barnes is getting maxed by someone. He'll get a max offer sheet. I'm pretty sure he's a restricted free agent this upcoming summer. Golden State will have to match, but if he wants to test the market, he's going to get maxed out somewhere.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. All right, so you want to get into fantasy? And
yeah, let's go and see what you got this week.
This week, I got a few players for you to keep an eye on, some good matchups and just some extra minutes. Tristan Thompson, Moskoff is out, so Thompson's picking a ton of minutes up at center. I think his last 2 games, over 25 points. He's around 5,000 on FanDuel, so that's a good value right there. Another guy like Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, he's starting now. Last 2 games, over 30 minutes. He's under 4,000, so he's a good value. Most games, as long as he doesn't get in foul trouble, he's going to hit over value for sure. Then one guy who's been heating up, point guard Kemba Walker. At 3 of his last 5 games, he's hitting over 40 points. So keep an eye on Kemba. He's not too bad. He's somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000. And that wraps it up for fantasy.
All right, let's move on to games of the week. So last week, you had a much better week than the previous one, and you ended up 4-2. Which brings your overall record to 7-5. I started last week 6-0, and I gloated about that last podcast. And this week didn't go so well for me, so I am 8-4. So it's a close matchup, but let's get into the games for this week. On Monday tonight, Monday, November 23rd at 8 on League Pass, Pistons at Milwaukee. Who do you like in this matchup?
Honestly, this is a pretty tough matchup. Milwaukee hasn't really been playing that great, so I'm going to go with Detroit.
Yeah, Milwaukee is a difficult team to kind of put your finger on. They're really good one night, they're really the next night. So I mean, even the Pistons, after their super hot start, right now they're 9th in the Eastern Conference. So both of these teams, not quite sure who to go with, but just to disagree with you, I'm going to go with Milwaukee.
It'll be interesting to watch Andre Drummond and Greg Monroe.
Yeah, that dynamic is fun.
They're going to go at it all game, 2 big dudes down there in the paint.
Yeah, we're finally going to get to see on a big scale what the Detroit Pistons practices have been like for the last 2 years.
True.
So, okay, let's go on to game 2. Boston at Atlanta. They played a couple of weeks ago, and Boston beat them by 13. But Boston is without Marcus Smart, and I think Atlanta still has a medley of injuries and people banged up. But this game is on Tuesday, November 24th, 8 o'clock on TNT. Boston and Atlanta. Who do you got?
This is another tough one. I'm going to go with Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm also going with the Hawks at home.
Yeah,
also, this is a fun game to watch because Sir Foster, who's the organ player for Atlanta, is excellent. So definitely tune into this game on Tuesday, and you will not be disappointed in the matchup and as well as Sir Foster.
I'll have to check that out.
All right, Wednesday, November 25th at 8:30 on League Pass, Dallas at San Antonio.
I'm going to be boring and pick the Spurs. The Mavs have definitely surprised me, though. They played really well this season, and I'm surprised they're so healthy.
Yeah, the San Antonio is second in the West, kind of a quiet second behind the Warriors, and Dallas is a surprising third. Like, who would have thought that? Not me, for sure. I didn't think that they were going to make the playoffs, and they still might not. You never know what's going to happen. There's a long season play, but so far they've been really good, and Dirk's been incredible. But I'm going to agree with you and go with the Spurs as well. All right, so there's no basketball on Thanksgiving, so be sure to have some family time and enjoy some football. But on Friday, November 27th at 7:30 on NBA TV, Miami Heat go into Madison Square Garden and play the New York Knicks and their rookie sensation Kristaps Porzingis, or as Stephen A. Smith likes to call him, Porzingis. Yeah, Stephen A. Smith's a fool. All right, anyway, who do you have for this game?
This is another tough one. These are some good games of the week right here. I'm going to have to go with your Miami Heat in this one.
Yeah, I'm not picking against Miami, so I'm going with the Heat as well. I think it'll be good, though. I'm really interested to see if Kristaps gets to play Hassan Whiteside. I know Chris Bosh and Kristaps is going to be a fun dynamic because they're similar types of players, but I'm scared for Kristaps if he has to run into Hassan Whiteside because that dude's a 7-foot bodybuilder. Kristaps is a little lightweight. He needs to eat more street meat and dollar pizza.
I want to see how Kristaps does against that front line because, like you said, defensively they're both good players. So I want to see how he does against one of the better defensive front lines in the NBA.
Yeah, Miami's one of the better defensive teams in the league, which is awesome for me. I enjoy watching them. And Whiteside, I think, is leading the league with 4.6 blocks a game last I checked. So he's sending everything back.
Yeah, he's been huge.
Yeah, literally and figuratively.
Yep.
Moving on to Game 5, the Toronto Raptors at the Washington Wizards, Saturday, November 28th at 7. Raptors are down Jonas Valanciunas. I think he broke his finger, so he's out maybe six-ish weeks.
Yep.
So they'll be short there. So who do you like in this matchup?
Just because of that, I'm probably going to go with the Wizards.
You know, I'm going to go with Washington as well. I really like the matchup between Lowry and Wall, because Wall definitely got the better of him in the playoffs last year. But Lowry's back with a new look body, and he's been good this season. DeRozan's been really good as well. So I think it'll be fun, but I'm gonna pick Washington to edge Toronto. All right, the final game and probably the most surprising game on this list. It's Sunday, November 29th at 6 on NBA TV as well. It's the Sixers at the Grizzlies.
I'm going to go with the Grizzlies. I think they should be able to manage a win. Hopefully Marc Gasol could work inside, show the young guys how it's done.
Yeah, this matchup is interesting because last year on a Grantland podcast, RIP to Grantland, by the way, on a Grantland podcast, DeMarcus Cousins talked about facing Gasol and Zebo and how that's one of the matchups that he's actually sore after in the league. I know DeMarcus likes to dish out a lot of punishment. So it was really interesting to see him say, yeah, I'm sore after playing those two. So it's Jahlil Okafor's turn, and I know he's a big dude as well. But I think Zebo and Marc Gasol will be too much for the Sixers. So I'm also going with Memphis. But I still think there's major upset possibility in this matchup. And I think it'll be a closer game than what most people would think just looking at the records of the teams.
Yeah, the Sixers should be able to hang around, but I just feel like at the end of the game they'll probably blow it.
Yeah, like they did against Miami a couple days ago, which I'm totally okay with. Keep doing you. Keep doing you, Sam Hinkie.
I was watching that.
Also, another thing about Philly, Brett Brown has a terrible coaching record. But I think as soon as he gets fired, which I hope he doesn't, I hope he gets to see out Philly, and if they end up doing well, I hope he gets to coach that team. But this record, his coaching record should be solely on Sam Hinkie. Sam Hinkie should have that many losses on his record, regardless of whether he's a coach, GM, president, I don't care. This dude has set Brett Brown up to fail so hard, even though Brett Brown's probably getting paid $5-6 million a year. I don't care. That record is horrendous that he has, and Sam Hinkie deserves all of that.
Yeah, to fix that record, you need to be like a top seed like 5 years in a row.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. All right, so just a quick recap. You have Detroit over Milwaukee, Atlanta over Boston, San Antonio over Dallas, Miami over New York, Washington over Toronto, and Memphis over Philly.
Yep.
And I have Milwaukee over Detroit. I agree with Atlanta over Boston. I agree with San Antonio over Dallas. I agree with Miami over New York. I agree with Washington over Toronto. And I'm boring, so I agreed with Memphis over Philly. So we disagree on one game, and that's the game tonight. So tune into that one.
So that'll give me just enough to tie up the record.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Hopefully it happens. But all right, thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and be sure to follow us on Twitter, where you can vote on all these games and just see some nice vines and stuff that we repost. So tune in to us on Twitter.
And check out otgbasketball.com. Thank you guys.